Hello, welcome back to the Cholo Verde YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Texas wine. This is an Italian wine. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a lot of Texas wine, so where I live. But anyway, let's start this out. I made some notes so that I wouldn't forget anything, which I probably will anyway. Anyway, today is Labor Day 2024, so September is finally here. My wife and I first went to Texas in the fall of 2019 to see our son and his wife and check out their new life. They moved here from Virginia. Well, she's from Texas. She took him away. But anyway, so he picked us up late at night at the airport, and we were like, we need to get some wine because the stores were getting late, and we usually, back at the hotel, we like to have wine. So he took us to an H-E-B store right outside of Austin in Tech Ridge area where they had an apartment. Anyway, so we're walking back to the wine. It's late at night, getting ready to close, I guess, and I look up and see a big sign that says Texas wine. And my wife and I just kind of looked at each other and said, Texas wine, what's that? Never heard of such a thing. That can't be serious. But it was a huge section, so we started looking through it, and I looked up, and staring right at me was this bottle of Bending Branch Texas Tannat. And I happen to have one in my wine cellar right now. I'm not opening it because it's my only one. I don't know when I'm going to open it, but let me see if I can get that up there a little bit. So that was staring at me in the face, and Tannat is one of our favorite wines made in Virginia here. We seek out wineries that have Tannat, and it grows well in Virginia. I had no idea it grew in Texas. But anyway, so we got that, and we also grabbed a bottle of Italian wine like this, something like this, just in case, because we fully expected Texas wine to be not drinkable. But anyway, so we get back to the hotel room. Long story short, we could not believe it. It was so good. A little different than Virginia Tannat. So I say there's a little spicier taste to it. But we fell in love and started Googling Texas wines, and we could not believe what we found. Fredericksburg, 900 and some wineries, I believe they're up to now. In Virginia, we're like 430 something, I believe. But we were just up all night just researching. And let's see, also I should mention at H-E-B, if you ever go to Texas to visit, when you go to your H-E-B to get some wines, if you can't make it to a winery yet, they sell this nice set of glasses for $9.99 for the pair. And they are wonderful. Luckily, 2 times they survived the trip back in the suitcase. I broke one while washing it once. But anyway, so I got back home from that trip, and I was so curious about Texas wine. I believe I had ordered a couple bottles of Tannat from Bending Branch and had them shipped to my house, but where I live, it's not a very good thing. Somebody has to be home, and we're never home anyway. So I started looking for more information, and I listened to podcasts, so I started looking for podcasts about Texas wine, and I was not disappointed. I found 3 so far. I've listened to just about every episode of every one of them, and I love all 3. The first one I found was called We Know Texas Vino with Will and Smith. They're a little funny. You laugh a lot in that one. But it's been mostly Will lately. Michael, I think, has some work things he's got to do. But they are great. The second one I found was Texas Under Vine with a guy named Scott, who goes around kind of like We Know Texas Vino, interviews winery owners, and winemakers, anybody in the trade. And then there was a third one, This is Texas Wine with Shelley Wilfong, who is sommelier, and she's very, very educational and get a lot of news on her show. Like she does her credits and demerits or something at the end of every episode. So you get to learn some things, local stuff. But anyway, so the second time we went back, you know, I've got all this information in me now from these podcasts. I've listened to just about every episode. It was October of 23. Our kids got married, and because it was such a busy time with the wedding and everything, we didn't have time to do wineries. We tried to get away for a day. We were only to get away to one winery. It was Dukeman Family Vineyards, and they were awesome, incredible wines. We had actually tried them, I think, from HEB, but it was. We didn't have time for more, unfortunately. And the tasting room was great. The place is beautiful. Dukeman, they have, unfortunately, a bus unloading out front for a scheduled tasting with like 29 people. So they could not give us a formal tasting, but she kind of got an idea of what we liked, and you know, a lot of Italian varietals, which right up my alley, our alley. So we sat down outside and watched the people come in and had a couple glasses of wine. It was very nice. We'll definitely go back. Their wines are great. Anyway, on that trip, we discovered I was in charge of getting wine for the wedding, and unfortunately everybody wanted this sweet wine. So I got a little reserve of some dry stuff. So I found this Pedernales Tempranillo, and it turned out to be unbelievable. I don't remember the year, but so that was not much wine drinking there, just stuff we got at the store. Third trip, which was this past May and June for, what was that, Memorial Day weekend, I guess it was. We did quite a few things. We got off the airplane. It was like before noon, so the kids were still working. So we rented our car at the Austin airport and drove straight out to Fredericksburg to check it out. And it was unbelievable. It was, all of a sudden there were just wineries everywhere. We got to the Old Town. We went directly there. We had to get a late lunch, so it wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be. From all the YouTube videos I watched and things I heard about it, I thought it was going to be a strictly wine adventure place, but it's mostly boutique shops, restaurants with winery tasting rooms splattered here and there. But we were hungry, and we found this German restaurant, and we each got a couple of different Becker Family Vineyards wines by the glass, which is a great way to taste different wines. But so yeah, we started out at Fredericksburg, and then the ride back to Austin again was a different route, so we passed even more wineries, and we were like, we got to return. But we stayed. By now they live in Georgetown, so we got to go walk around Old Town Georgetown, and that's an experience because it's got a couple of tasting rooms. You can get your glass of wine and walk out and walk down the street and go in the stores. It's really, really nice. We went to the Grape Creek Vineyards. They have a tasting room there. I think I have somewhere. Oh, right here. I grabbed some of their menus. They have their Grape Creek and their Invention Vineyards, which a lot of these wines they have. We tried the Sangiovese, the Tempranillo, and the Riesling. I went white, and we mostly go red, but it was very, very cool. I remember Petit Syrah, Viognier, and Cab Blanc. So we tried a little bit of everything. That may have been my wife's. But so a funny story, at the Grape Creek tasting room, this one podcast I listened to, Scott, Texas Under Vine, always says that he got his start in the wine industry by working the tasting room at this place in Georgetown. So I mentioned that to the two girls at the tasting room, and they just looked at each other and started laughing. And I said, "What, you know this guy?" And the one girl says, "Yeah, I fired him." And then she said, "No, I'm just kidding. He's my husband." And I was like, "Oh my God, a small world." I had just listened to a podcast where he talked about the Grape Creek tasting room in Fredericksburg. So we got a good laugh about that. We didn't go back to Fredericksburg. We did go to the Blue Lotus Winery for a night. That's in Seguin, Texas. We spent the night in a wine barrel. Very romantic, incredible thing. We tried mead for the first time. Wonderful, wonderful wines there. I made another video, you can find it on my page, of our night at the Blue Lotus Winery Cabernet barrel. It was a unique experience. But let's see, so the other things I wanted to mention, a lot of Italian and Spanish grapes in Texas because of the terroir and the climate, I guess. Restaurants in Georgetown. There's also the Texas Wine Lover app, which everybody should have on their phone. Everybody works together. Wineries work together. They have the TWIGA, which is the Texas Wine and Grape Growers Association, helps everybody out. It's like a big family. Virginia is the same way. But yeah, so the thing is, there's a big movement because when you go to local restaurants, they always have local beers, and then you go to the wine section and it's all from Europe or California and nothing from Texas. So there's a big movement trying to push restaurants to I'm sure there are laws involved in all that. We actually in Georgetown went to a real nice Italian restaurant, and I wanted Texas wine, and they said all they had were Italian wines, and so I'm not going to argue. I suggested that they try some Texas. They have some good Italian varietals, but I was very friendly, and I'll definitely go back to that restaurant. It was awesome. Their food was great, and the wine was good too. Never go wrong with Italian wines. Anyway, so then I found around, there's another tasting room there, but the sign out front said tasting by appointments only, so I never even went in there to check it out. We were so busy with the kids doing stuff, eating. And then, so I found another place that was just strictly a wine place. And I said, wow, this looks interesting. I kept looking at it every time we went. And finally one day the girls were shopping, so I said, let me go in there and get a glass to carry around. So went in, it looked like a great place. I loved, the vibe and everything, and a bunch of tables and a bar. And she said, may I help you? I said, yeah, I'm just looking for, what do you have for Texas wine that I can get a glass of and walk around? And she said, we only have 2 Texas wines, and they're by the bottle. And I thought that was kind of sad, but maybe they'll get more and more. But we need to keep urging the restaurants, urging them nicely. It's Texas wine does not have the reputation yet, and it will be there. I think it's going to be. I don't know. I think Texas and Virginia are going to be wine famous, world famous regions one day. I just think that. But anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to start doing some more wine content. Hopefully it'll be interesting, and hopefully you'll like it. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend.